Something that said, take a look at what happened.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has broken his silence on the recent attempted assassination of former U.S. President Donald Trump. In a highly anticipated statement, Putin addressed the international community, condemning the attack and calling for a thorough investigation to bring those responsible to justice. This development has sparked a wave of reactions from political leaders and analysts worldwide, as tensions between the two nations continue to influence global politics.
As far as the prosecution of Trump is concerned, this is good for us in today's conditions, because it shows the rottenness of the American system, which cannot pretend to teach others about democracy. All that is happening with Trump is the persecution of a political rival for political reasons. And this is done in front of the public of the United States and the whole world.
In the wake of the assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump, Russia seized the opportunity to launch a scathing critique of American liberal values. Russian officials characterized the incident as a stark indicator of the suicide of democracy in the United States, asserting that the country's political and social divisions are deeper than ever. They predicted that these growing tensions could lead to a civil war and eventually result in the dissolution of the United States as a unified nation. This rhetoric from Moscow underscores the ongoing geopolitical rivalry between the two powers, as well as Russia's strategic use of U.S. domestic turmoil to bolster its own narrative and influence on the global stage. The Kremlin stated on Sunday that it did not hold the U.S. administration responsible for the assassination attempt on U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump that occurred on Saturday. However, it accused the administration of fostering an atmosphere that incited such an attack. Russian officials emphasized that while they did not directly blame U.S. leaders for the violent act, they believed the current political climate in the United States contributed to the incident, reflecting deeper systemic issues within the country. Kremlin Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov stated that U.S. President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have placed former President Donald Trump's life in obvious danger and incited the assassination attempt against him. Peskov claimed that by attempting but failing to remove Trump from the presidential race through legal means such as the courts and prosecutors, as well as efforts to politically discredit and compromise him, the Democratic Party created a volatile environment. According to Peskov, these actions collectively contributed to the circumstances leading to the attack. We do not believe that the attempt to eliminate and assassinate Trump was organized by the current authorities, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters. But the atmosphere around candidate Trump provoked what America is confronting today. U.S. President Joe Biden condemned the attack, asserting that there is no place for such violence in America. In response, Kremlin Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov echoed this sentiment, stating that Russia condemns any form of violence in the course of political struggles. Peskov emphasized that while Russia denounces the attack, it also criticizes the U.S. political climate that it believes contributed to the incident. His comments echoed those of some of Trump's Republican allies, who immediately pinned the blame on Biden. These allies argued that the Biden administration's actions and rhetoric had created a hostile environment that ultimately led to the attack. By aligning with this perspective, Peskov highlighted a shared narrative that criticizes the current U.S. leadership and underscores the deep political divisions within the country. After numerous attempts to remove candidate Trump from the political arena, using first legal tools, the courts, prosecutors, attempts to politically discredit and compromise the candidate, it was obvious to all outside observers that his life was in danger, Peskov said. He added that there were no plans for President Vladimir Putin to call Trump in light of the incident. Despite the gravity of the situation, the Kremlin indicated that direct communication between Putin and Trump would not take place at this time. This stance further emphasizes Russia's strategic approach to the unfolding events and its focus on leveraging the incident for broader geopolitical commentary rather than personal diplomacy. Russia has always condemned, and we strongly condemn, any expressions of violence during political struggle, Mr. Peskov told reporters, according to TASS. Mr. Putin won't be calling the former U.S. president, who was rushed from the scene after a bullet struck his ear, Mr. Peskov said. As far as I know, no, there are no such plans, Mr. Peskov said. Putin has stated that the outcome of the U.S. presidential election is unlikely to change anything for Russia, and that Trump's presidency had actually damaged U.S.-Russia relations. He noted that regardless of who wins, the fundamental dynamics between the two countries are expected to remain the same, highlighting the enduring and complex nature of their bilateral relationship. However, the Russian leader has expressed public interest in Trump's statements about potentially ending the Ukraine war. Putin mentioned that while he does not know the specifics of Trump's plans, he supports the idea of ending the conflict in principle. This indicates a cautious yet positive reception to any proposals that might lead to a resolution, reflecting Russia's strategic interest in the situation. World leaders, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, swiftly condemned Saturday's attack. They expressed shock, denounced political violence, and extended their wishes for Trump's quick recovery. This collective response underscores the global concern over political stability and the shared condemnation of violence in the political arena. The FBI identified Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old resident of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, as the suspect in the attempted assassination of Trump. President Biden responded on Sunday, condemning the shooting as, "Contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. It's not who we are as a nation. It's not American, and we cannot allow this to happen." Biden's remarks underscored a firm stance against political violence and a commitment to national unity in the face of such incidents. Contrary to the Kremlin's claims, the separation of powers concept in the United States is not just a theoretical concept mentioned in the Constitution, but a functional system. President Biden does not have control over the judiciary or the legislative branch of the government, emphasizing the independence of these branches and their role in checks and balances within the U.S. political system. This distinction underscores the complexity and autonomy of each branch in American governance. A range of top Russian lawmakers, diplomats, and influential figures promoted a narrative asserting that the attempt on Trump's life confirmed the flaws and deep-seated corrosion within the American type of democracy. This viewpoint reflects a broader critique from Moscow about perceived weaknesses and instability within U.S. democratic institutions, using the assassination attempt as a focal point to criticize American governance and societal norms. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova commented that the attempt on Trump's life epitomized the state of American democracy, which she claimed liberals had brought to the brink of collapse. She suggested that the dissolution of the United States, once deemed improbable, now appeared increasingly plausible. Maria Zakharova said the attempt on Trump's life was all about the American democracy, which the liberals brought to the verge of suicide. The dissolution of the United States does not look like such an impossible prophecy any longer, Zakharova said. The United States of America must take stock of its policies on inciting hatred toward political opponents, countries, and people, and sponsoring terrorism. The bell is already ringing in Washington, Ms. Zakharova posted on her Telegram page. Zakharova's remarks underscored Russia's critical stance on U.S. internal affairs and its interpretation of the incident as indicative of broader systemic issues within American politics. Russia's state news agency, RIA Novosti, prominently showcased the analysis of its senior commentator, Pyotr Akopov. Akopov referenced Trump's 2016 election promise to drain the Washington swamp to argue that those entrenched in the political establishment, swampers, have been actively working against him, expressing regret that they had not eliminated him before the November 2016 election. The Democratic Party did not plot to kill Trump, but the attack was the result of an atmosphere of hatred they have been nurturing for the last 8 years, Akopov wrote. He then speculated that it came as no surprise that the Secret Service only saw the shooter after he made 8 shots, because with Trump's rising popularity, killing him has become a scenario with no alternative for the deep state Washington swamp. Akopov repeated the conspiracy theory about killing Trump being the only option 5 times in his 600-word piece. While Akopov's analysis blends propaganda, disinformation, and conspiracy theories, he serves a crucial role in the Kremlin's domestic messaging. RIA Novosti's publications are widely republished by thousands of local news agencies and websites throughout Russia, as well as in the former Soviet Union countries of Central Asia and Eastern Europe. For foreign audiences, Russia leverages social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, along with a network of over 270 accounts belonging to Russian embassies and consulates worldwide. These platforms amplify Kremlin narratives in multiple languages. Notably, the Russian embassy in South Africa stands out as one of the most prominent hubs for disseminating Russian propaganda on X. In response to a photograph of Trump's bloodied face, the Russian diplomatic mission added commentary on X, accusing the Democrats of lacking tolerance while allegedly being willing to commit any crime to achieve their goals. Users on X reminded the Russian embassy in South Africa about the death of Alexei Navalny, a prominent critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who died in prison earlier in the year. Navalny's widow, Yulia Navalnaya, along with numerous international institutions and governments, accused Putin of orchestrating Navalny's assassination. Germany and the United Nations Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons concluded that Navalny was poisoned with the military-grade nerve agent Novichok by the Russian FSB in 2020. Human rights organizations have documented a systematic suppression of political and civil liberties, as well as a decline in human rights and press freedom during Putin's 2 decades in power in Russia. These issues underscore the ongoing international scrutiny and criticism of Russia's domestic policies under Putin's leadership. In February 2024, President Vladimir Putin stated that Russia would prefer to see U.S. President Joe Biden win a second term, citing Biden as more experienced and predictable compared to Donald Trump, despite Moscow's strong disagreement with the current administration's policies. Putin made these remarks during an interview with Russian state television, marking his first public commentary on the upcoming U.S. presidential election, which is expected to potentially feature Biden against Trump. This endorsement of Biden by Putin represents a rare instance of praise for the U.S. president, who has been a vocal critic of the Russian leader, contrasting with Trump's previous favorable remarks towards Putin. Biden, he's more experienced, more predictable. He's a politician of the old formation, Putin said, when asked which candidate would be better for Russia. But we will work with any U.S. leader whom the American people trust. Putin's motives for stating that Biden would be a better choice for Russia were unclear, but the assertion raised eyebrows, especially in light of previous U.S. government assessments regarding Putin's support for Trump and Kremlin efforts to influence American elections in his favor. The apparent endorsement was not welcomed by the White House. When asked during a briefing about Putin's remarks, National Security spokesman John Kirby responded firmly, stating, "I think Mr. Putin knows very well what this administration has been doing to counter Russia's malign influence around the world." "Mr. Putin should just stay out of our elections," Kirby added. Kirby emphasized that Putin should refrain from involvement in U.S. elections, reinforcing the administration's stance on safeguarding electoral integrity from foreign interference. In contrast, Trump immediately praised Putin's statement at a campaign rally on Wednesday night, describing it as a great compliment to him. U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded that Putin ordered a covert campaign to influence the 2016 presidential race in favor of Trump over Democratic challenger Hillary Clinton. This campaign involved Russian operatives hacking Democratic emails and orchestrating their release in the lead-up to the election.
То, что господин Трамп, как кандидат в президенты, заявляет о том, что он готов и хочет остановить войну на Украине, мы к этому относимся вполне серьезно. Я не знаком, разумеется, с его возможными предложениями по поводу того, как он собирается это сделать. И это, конечно, ключевой вопрос. Но я не сомневаюсь, что он говорит это искренне, и мы это поддержим.
Additionally, more recent intelligence assessments indicate that Putin authorized influence operations during the 2020 election. These operations were aimed at denigrating Biden, boosting Trump's candidacy, undermining public confidence in the electoral process, and exacerbating social divisions within the United States. These findings underscore ongoing concerns about foreign interference in American elections and efforts to manipulate public opinion. Trump and Putin, who have previously expressed admiration for each other, have dismissed U.S. intelligence findings regarding Russian interference in elections. Putin has also criticized the White House's policy toward Russia, describing it as badly flawed and wrong. Putin's government remarks on the attempted assassination of Trump have added fuel to an already complex geopolitical landscape. As tensions between Russia and the West persist, Putin's government comments not only underscore the strained relations between the two nations, but also highlight divergent views on international security and democratic values. The aftermath of this incident continues to reverberate globally, prompting renewed scrutiny of Russia's role in international affairs and its implications for future diplomatic engagements. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.